This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Welcome to another episode of You Don't Know Billy Jack, podcast series where we discuss some of the greatest matches of all time through the eyes of a non-wrestling fan. My name is Drew. I'm joined, of course, by our resident non-wrestling fan, Jordan Darby.
I've gone from anti-wrestling fan to non-wrestling fan. So you've done a little good missional work there.
And by next episode...
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far.
You will be Hulkamaniac.
Yeah, my face will be painted purple and white. And
Absolutely. You will be Jordan Darby, a member of the Street People USA.
Yeah, right.
Well, Jordan, we have a long one tonight. Anything to mention before we get into it?
No, let's eat some of this chopped liver here.
All right. So the match we're talking about today, very famous match, of course, Nick Bockwinkel versus Curt Hennig. November 15th, 1986 is the date on it from the AWA, the American Wrestling Association. This is for the AWA World Heavyweight title. Now, of course, as always, we will be doing a live watch of the match. We will be discussing anything that comes up along the way related to the match or not. And afterwards, Jordan and I will be asking you a series of questions, my own version of the famous questionnaire, by Bernard Pivot.
Wonderful.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Place to Be Nations, JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have over 24 podcasts available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com. We now offer them to you on two great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, we dive into topics running the gamut from today's WWE to the glory days of yesteryear and the ins and outs of the territory days. In addition to our full-length shows, we also deliver to you special pod blasts on topics old and new.
The Place to Be Nation Pop feed is a veritable treasure trove of great content, offering tremendous shows covering the land of movies, television, life, comics, and sports, brought to you by the most knowledgeable and insightful folks in the podcast world.
You can find all of these current shows, plus archives of our previous podcasts from over the past 8 years as well, by subscribing to our feeds on iTunes. And while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others available at PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects and more. Be sure to support our site by using www.placetobenation.com/Amazon while doing your online shopping. And be sure to join us at our forum at bigelow34.proboards.com for all sorts of wrestling, sports, and pop culture discussion each and every day where you can make your voice heard. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar, ProWrestlingOnly.com, and TheHistoryOfWrestling.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Are you ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Let's get to it. Now then, Nick Bockwinkel, that's him right there.
Okay.
He's the champion.
He looks like a CPA. Like just some guy.
Just some guy.
Yeah.
So he's 51 years old here. Keep that in mind throughout this match. And now, does he look familiar to Curt Hennig?
Not really, no.
Do you know who Mr. Perfect is? Does that sound familiar at all?
All I know from that is that somebody wrote a song called like Perfect Man or like The Perfect Friend, and it's about him because he killed himself. Is any of that right?
Some of it is right. The song's called Perfect Friend, written by the Macho Man Randy Savage.
That's right.
He did not kill himself per se. He did overdose on cocaine in 2003. But yes, he does have. He is memorialized in the song "Perfect Friend."
Okay, so is that guy down there? Is that Mr. Perfect?
That is the future Mr. Perfect.
Okay.
Currently young Curt Hennig.
Okay.
But yes, gregarious, not shy, as the Macho Man would say. And
that's where you got that tape at like the 99-cent store.
No, that was the ones that were at the 99-cent store. That was Hulk Hogan and the Wrestling Boot Band.
Okay, that's right. They all had these weird singing careers.
That was the rap. The Macho Man was a rap album. Hit single "Be a Man," calling out Hulk Hogan. Yeah. Anyways. Start of the match there, if you noticed, it started with Nick Bockwinkel, the champion, drop kicking the young Curt Hennig as he turned his back.
Right.
What does that lead you to believe?
That he's the heel.
You're correct.
Is that right? Because that would be a heel move, right?
Yes.
To do something like that.
Yeah. So he's a real. He's
shady looking, dude.
He's a real SOB.
Like I said, it looks like he just should have a tie on, like a button up and a tie.
Yeah, that's like perfect because that's like his character. It's like a
funny.
Beverly Hills, rich
so
guy.
Funny.
Yeah. So I mean, you throughout these shows, you've had some pretty interesting, and pretty dead on insights. So I'm wondering if that's your heightened perception or the the effectiveness of the wrestlers.
Yeah, I gotta give the credit to the wrestlers. I think as much as I don't get a lot of this or like it, they have a craft they're working.
Yeah.
And this is their life.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, are these guys this is what they do for their life, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And they're all in and they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean Nick Bockwinkel, like I said, he's like 51, right?
Crazy.
There, and had been wrestling for decades.
Dude. So, what's the AWA? Is that the promotion that you were talking about?
Yeah.
That's this organization?
Yeah, that's this. Based in the Midwest in Minnesota.
Okay.
It was another territory. It was, so this is 1986. They're on the downhill slope now.
Okay.
They were at one time, so it was kind of like there were three big ones just a year or so earlier. It was the WWF and the AWA and Jim Crockett Promotions.
Okay.
So all three of those companies, of course WWF did eventually take over everything, but they were like, they were all at one point poised to be like big national promotions.
And it could have been any one of them.
Yeah,
Depending
on
top dog or whatever.
Yeah, how things went. And so the AWA famously, this is where Hulk Hogan became Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
And so Hulk Hogan left the AWA for WWF.
Got it.
I think partly because the owner, Vern Gagne, his name is, this real tough old guy. He wouldn't let Hogan do Rocky III.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I mean, there was other things too.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a little bit of a breakout, like.
Yeah.
To To be in that.
Yeah. And he wouldn't he didn't capitalize on Hulkamania.
Sure.
Okay. And certainly not the way the WWF eventually did. But yeah, so this is a promotion I'm not very familiar with.
Okay.
Mainly because it's a pretty dry promotion.
Dude, sorry, he almost pulled his underwear off.
Yes.
Or I don't know what are they called, shorts?
Trunks.
Trunks.
Yeah.
That was just a weird.
That's all right. So, it's like there's not a lot of. You won't see the Boogie Woogie Man in the AWA, for instance. So there's like famously, they would only run. Do you know what an angle is? Do you know that term? Angle.
I've heard you use it, but no, I'm not really familiar.
So what that is, that's some kind of event that sparks a feud or a storyline. So maybe someone turning on another person.
Okay.
Or, I made you watch I Need to Talk to Tom.
Oh, yeah.
That would be an angle.
Okay.
So they would only do like 1 or 2 angles a year.
Huh.
And just run off that. Or
So, like, for instance, what is today's wrestling? Like, how many angles a year are they doing? Are they just, like, going?
Oh, yeah.
So just angle upon angle?
Yeah. And especially, I mean, there were times in the late 90s, the Attitude Era, it was called, where, like WCW or WWF, there would be multiple angles in one show. Just multiple angles at one time, all kinds of stuff. So this company, like I said, not a lot of that stuff. Real straight wrestling. And so, like, this match, for instance, there's not, like, a big build-up or backstory or anything. It's just Nick Bockwinkel, he's the old champion. Curt Hennig, he's the young guy that's looking to take down the champion.
Yeah.
And that's it.
There have just been a lot of holds,
Yes.
it seems like, and it seems like there's been a lot of moves to contrast the last match that we watched, where they seemed to kind of just be. It was like
Punching.
Yeah, it was just like a blood sport. Like
Yeah.
they were just hurting each other.
Yeah. And that's like these a lot of these title matches, these AWA title matches are more like technical kind of old school matches. So it's a lot of working holds.
So at this time, if this promotion's in the Midwest, is that where most of the like shows, or I don't know what you'd call these, like events, are happening, or are they like touring the country?
Well, so this is from the Showboat Casino in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So they started doing a lot of shows, like taping a lot of TV and stuff at the Showboat Casino in Las Vegas. I don't know, I'm like I said, I'm not super. I haven't seen a lot of this promotion, so I don't know a ton about it. But there's somehow they got this hookup with the Showboat Casino.
Okay.
And so they're able to tape a lot of stuff there. But again, they would run shows in their territory.
Got it.
Like the Midwest, like based in Minnesota, so like St. Paul and the surrounding areas.
Okay.
Yeah, and other states too. But they would have
Yeah.
like a specific loop. It's called a loop.
Okay.
That they just kind of go.
So would it be disrespectful to encroach on someone else's loop if you were a different territory?
Yeah. So that's what made the territory system work. Was that there was an understanding between all the different promoters that, okay, Vern Gagne, he promotes in Minnesota, so he's got his area, and Don Owen, he promotes in the Northwest,
Sure.
and
You do yours, I do mine.
Jim Crockett, he promotes in the North Carolina region, and there's Georgia, and there's Texas, and there's Mid-South, and
Right.
LA, and San Francisco, and
Yeah, right.
So, and they had a working agreement where, okay, everyone sticks to their own area, and the wrestlers, they could go from place to place to place
Okay.
and work. Oh, okay, so we'll trade you this guy, and send us a guy over or something,
Got it, yeah.
Or, okay, we're not really going to be using you anymore, and so this guy can then call.
He's kind of a free agent at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of them were associated with the NWA, and so you'd have the traveling champion coming in as well. Now, Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWF,
Right.
he started running shows against other promotions. So he would run in the same towns
Okay.
as other promotions, and he would steal their talent,
Huh.
and he put them all out of business.
He poached.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah. Then you'd have outlaw promotions who would like try to put other promotions out of business,
Oh,
you know? So like famously, the Macho Man, you know? Macho Man ran his
Yeah,
head.
yeah.
Him and his dad,
Dude.
Angelo Poffo,
Okay.
they ran an outlaw promotion and would try to like take over the Memphis territory. And so they would like hold people up with guns and stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, but it was an outlaw promotion because they weren't sanctioned by anyone, and they would try to invade these other places and
Yeah,
that kind of
it's
thing,
just-
you know?
The whole thing seems real tribal.
yeah, I mean, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, the NWA itself is also like sketchy.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got a book about it. I haven't dug too much into it, but there's all kinds of sketchy like ties to different organizations, and, you know, all kinds of stuff. It's wrestling, so it's all sketchy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a prerequisite. I mean, you gotta know that when you're gonna start thinking about any of this stuff.
Yes.
There's a film of shady activity over everything.
Yeah. And it's always been like that. So what are your early impressions right here? So it's, you know, we're a little bit ways into the match now. What are you?
Yeah,
what are you
I mean,
feeling?
this one does seem like it's a little more. I don't know a way to describe it other than like professional. They seem to be doing these holds, and the moves seem to be pretty choreographed. This is looking more familiar to me.
Yeah.
Of like kind of what you think of when you're thinking of wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm also really impressed at that guy's stamina, the 51-year-old.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they there's been no let up, and he, you know.
Yeah. So Nick Bockwinkel, he's potentially the greatest wrestler of all time.
Oh wow.
The thing is that there's not a lot of footage that exists of him in his supposed prime. Like he was in a really famous tag team with a guy named Ray Stevens. Not to be confused with the comedian songwriter Ray Stevens. Are you familiar with
I
him?
don't think so.
Oh, Jordan.
Should I be?
Well, let's see. The Mississippi Squirrel Revival. Does that song ring a bell to
I
you?
don't think so.
Rockin' in the USSR.
You'd have to show me. I don't know.
Let's see. I ain't sitting up with the dead no more. Since the dead started sitting up too. Does that sound?
No, none of this sounds familiar.
So that he was a big hit in my. Yeah, famously, of course, my home growing up was devoid of any kind of culture or like entertainment or anything or media.
I was going to say total blackout culture.
Except for the television that raised me. But so that was this one tape that we had. It was a bootleg tape or like a copy
dubbed.
VHS, a dubbed VHS tape of Ray Stevens music videos. And he's like a southern comedy writer.
Ray Stevens.
Comedy like songwriter.
Never heard of.
Yeah. I don't know if he made it out this far.
Yeah.
But it's really bad, of course.
I mean, it sounds delightful.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. Actually, it probably would be really funny now, actually. So, okay, sorry. I digress. Anyways, Ray Stevens, he was in a tag team with Ray Stevens.
Okay.
They're supposedly, like the best tag team of all time.
Huh.
But again, there's not a lot of footage that exists of them two as a tag team, or him as like a singles wrestler in his younger days. All we have to go on is a lot of like the 1980s.
So he would have been in his prime in like the 60s, or
Yeah, 60s and 70s. So we can kind of only assume how great he was because he's still, and there's people that think he's the greatest wrestler of all time based on what is available from him, and like his personality and his promos and everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very possible that he truly is the greatest that ever lived.
Huh.
But,
it's crazy because he's not any kind of a layman's household name.
Right. Yeah.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah.
Like, what did people think about Hogan?
Like hardcore, real diehard fans.
Yeah, like wrestling fans.
A lot of people. Let's see. That's a tough question to ask or to answer because there's so many different levels of like hardcore fans.
I guess. Yeah, you'd probably have to go into that a little bit at least.
Yeah. So
I mean, the people that like wrestling. I mean, that's kind of I'm not really familiar with that audience at all, really.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, right? It's
right.
It encompasses a lot.
A lot.
And a lot of people that I don't really socialize with.
Yes. Yeah. So, let's see. So hardcore wrestling fans. So there's, your casual wrestling fans who like, oh yeah, they'll watch like the WWF and yeah, that's cool. Then there's what you might call like a diehard wrestling fan or a hardcore fan, which has several like sub categories.
Yeah, right.
So maybe there's like a diehard WWE fan who watches everything WWE has to offer, hours and hours a week of TV, and they know like the backstage like gossip and the insider stuff, and then there's the hardcore fan that they're so hardcore that they don't like WWE because it's too mainstream, and so they watch the independent wrestling scene,
right?
And they don't do a lot like the cooler moves and everything like they do in the independent scene, and that's where the real things are. That's where it's really happening,
right?
And then there's like, American wrestling all sucks. I only watch New Japan wrestling. Mm-hmm. So New Japan is the big wrestling company in Japan, which we've gone over,
right?
And then there's like, New Japan, they're like too westernized. They're too much like WWE now.
Yeah.
I only watch the independent Japanese wrestling promotions.
Yeah.
And then there's people that it kind of goes full circle with. So I guess to backtrack
it'd
a
be
little
kind
bit.
of like asking, what do rock music fans think of the Beatles?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So where it's like everyone has to acknowledge their credibility to a certain extent, but you get a wide range of opinions within that.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
I think that's a good analogy.
Hulk Hogan is like, no one can deny him, right?
No.
Like if you like wrestling or whatever.
No one can deny how big of a star he was and how important he was for WWF.
Okay, yeah.
So there's levels then of like, you acknowledge that, but he's Hulk Hogan, he's the Hulkster, he's awesome. Or there's like, he couldn't, because there's a thing called work rate, Jordan. Work rate.
What's work rate?
So that's like how good.
Hold on, let me pause you here.
Yeah.
So every now and again in the match, like someone comes on over like a bullhorn.
That's the timekeeper.
Okay, so this is a timed match.
Yeah, 60-minute championship match. 60-minute one fall championship match.
What's one fall?
One pin.
Okay.
It's called a pinfall.
Okay, so and if the 60 minutes elapses, what?
It's a draw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
No, that's all right. So work rate is
rate.
how good. It's like how good of a physical wrestler you are. Meaning, if you can go really fast and you can do a bunch of moves and you're going back and forth and the moves all look good.
You've got energy.
You've got energy. That's work rate.
Okay.
So Hulk Hogan would not fall under that category. And so a lot of people think he sucks because of that.
Like The Rock had no work rate when we watched him.
Yes.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Because, like, Cena was all over the place.
Yes.
But the Rock was, like, winded and sad looking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. So but then there's people that, like I said, maybe they've been through that phase and they've come back around on Hogan.
Sure.
To where they realize that wrestling is really kind of encompassing of a lot of different aspects, crowd engagement and facial expressions and charisma and all this stuff, and so they acknowledge Hulk Hogan as like pretty good. Like, I don't know if you'll ever get someone who says like Hulk Hogan is really one of the best wrestlers ever. Any like a hardcore type person, but I don't like he's a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
Because you can watch matches like earlier matches like a couple years before this, maybe 84, 85, where he's kind of doing a lot. Doing kind of different things. You can watch him in Japan. Like he has some matches in Japan, and that's another another thing is Hogan in Japan is really good. And Hogan in America is really bad.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it's him. It's him showing because it's like a different style over there. So he's doing more like. Technical wrestling holds and like mat work and working on the mat and stuff like they're doing, Whereas over here in LA Madison Square Garden or something, he's doing more of the flexing.
Exactly, the facial features. And
But the thing with Hulk Hogan is that like he, even in America, he would do a lot of different matches, and then at a certain point, he found a formula that really worked. To where he would do the posing, and early on he would get some offense in, and then he would get beaten down for a while, and then he'd Hulk up.
Right, exactly. He'd tell the story.
Yeah, and then he'd do his big boot, and the match would be over.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's maybe more where I'm coming at it from.
Yeah. I don't know. I like all that stuff, though. It's cool because it's just like him working the crowd,
Yeah. I mean, that's a bit more universal.
Yeah.
Because when you tell me that that this man is maybe the greatest wrestler of all time, I mean, I have to put on a different like mind frame to like understand that.
Yes.
Like this is like they've been exchanging really well, and it's like they've been. Like, just now is the first time someone's gone out of the ring.
Yeah.
So they're not, like, trying to sell anything.
Right.
Like, they're just wrestling.
Yeah.
They're just going back and forth, doing various moves and holds on each other.
Yeah. And no one's gotten a distinct advantage.
Exactly.
At this point.
And so, in that way, that's quite skilled. But it's harder for me to, like, that's a nuance I don't understand.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, I'm very impressed at this guy's age, and ability to do this, for as long as it's going.
Mm-hmm. And so, did you notice he's kind of favoring an arm now?
Yes, I did see that.
And so they've been exchanging. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the holds that Nick Bockwinkel have been doing are based on Hennig's leg versus the arm.
Yes,
for him. Look, he looks like Lloyd Bridges.
Dude, yeah, you're right.
He's so it's slicked back hair, but it's not wet. It's like slicked down,
Yeah.
Like the puffy slicked back hair. is a great look.
So this was like the first real break in the action. And now they're right back at it.
Yeah.
So there was that like 40-second kind of them just standing there,
Yeah.
getting their breath or something.
Yeah. And that's pretty impressive because like you'll. Here's another, I guess, kind of like little insight is that. So you see how they're doing holds?
Yeah.
Can you tell that they're not laying there, like that they're working the hold?
Yeah, sure.
So that's a big thing.
Yeah, it's not like a pose.
Right, and that's something that would happen a lot in WWF, is someone will grab a headlock and just they'll sit there.
They just take that opportunity.
Yeah, and they'll just relax, versus something like this where it's both guys.
They've been tensing this entire time.
Yeah, like this is very taxing physically,
Big time, yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people don't get.
Yeah.
So they'll say like a lot of people don't like matches that are worked on the ground like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, on first glance, you're like, these guys are just sitting there.
Yeah, they're not doing anything.
But they're like, their whole bodies are both like totally tense right now.
Yeah, and so you can watch, like, okay, how are they working the hold? How are they engaging each other and the fans? Mm-hmm. And like, how are they conveying what's being presented?
Yeah. Now he's doing this sick like grind on the guy.
Yeah, so I don't know. I like, so this goes along with my with the way I like long, slow movies.
Sure.
Is that I like long, slow matches. There's something like esoteric about a lot of them, even So something we haven't really talked about is commentary. I don't know how much you've been listening to the commentary. Probably not much because we've been talking. Is that something that we should fix? Do you think, like, should I turn it up and should we pay more attention to that, or
I don't know.
That's up to you. Like, would that, because we haven't, the last match, the Magnum versus Tully match, that was the first one where we had, that was the first American match we've had. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't a lot of commentary in that one.
Yeah.
But would that help you, do you think? Or not really?
Yeah, maybe we can go a click on it. So he's really working that arm.
Yeah.
Dude. Now he's going on the guy's leg.
Yeah.
An Indian.
Yeah, and so you notice that Curt Hennig, he was kind of limping around on the leg there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're now like zeroed in on each other's weakness.
Yes. So you notice those were like the first punches
Totally,
of the match.
Yeah, they're hamming it up.
Yeah. 30 minutes have gone by.
Okay.
Now.
How in the world are they going to wrestle for another 30 minutes?
I don't know. How do you know they are?
Yeah, how do I know that?
Yeah, well that'll be something to watch then.
I mean, I think if I'm paying for this thing and I'm going in there and it's 60 minutes, one fall or whatever you said, they better go the bulk of that time.
Oh, okay, really? Yeah.
I mean, why else would you have a timed... In something like this, why else would you have a timed aspect? Mm-hmm. But to run up to that time in some way.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Unless you flipped it up and it was this was a 10-minute thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so we finished part 1, so we got to switch to part 2 now. So I apologize.
Oh, there's a cool ad. Can we watch it?
Let's check it out. So I mean that's you're kind of right on in that companies use time, not really anymore a lot of times, but it's used as a storytelling device.
Sure, yeah.
So, and we'll see some different examples of it throughout, but there's different matches have different time lengths. So maybe a lower title match would have a 30-minute time limit, or an opening match would have a 15-minute time limit or 20-minute time limit.
Sure.
But then the big main event has a 60-minute time limit, and they can use that. Yeah, like you said, they can kind of play with that and have maybe a quick main event.
Yeah.
Or you use it to
its fullest potential.
Right, yeah.
And make that part of the dramatic element.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and so have you sensed any kind of shift at all in anything that's happened? From where we are now from the start of the match to where we are now?
The older man, what was his name?
Nick Bockwinkel.
Nick Bockwinkel. He seems to have sustained himself pretty well, and he's got the energy on his side. Mm-hmm. He's also the defending champion, right?
Yes.
So now he's got him in his sleeper hold. Mm-hmm. The Mr. Perfect, Proto Perfect is he's looking pretty messed up.
Yeah. So you know who has seen a ton of this promotion is Justin.
Oh, okay.
So this was on ESPN.
I saw a banner. Yeah.
So he's watched all the episodes that were on ESPN.
Huh.
Growing up and stuff. So this is he really knows a lot about.
This is his bread and butter. Then.
Yeah. But they went on through 1990, 1991-ish, and by then it was really dismal.
It's sad.
Yeah, really. So recently we were watching another match. The last match we watched was on the WWE Network. Mm-hmm. They own all this footage.
Okay.
Well, actually, I should rephrase that. I don't know if they own the ESPN footage or not, but they own some amount of the AWA library. Mm-hmm. But they recently put up a TV pilot that this company produced in 1989 about showing their new direction.
Whoa.
And it's surreal. It's so bizarre.
Because at that point, they're grasping at straws.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out how to survive.
Yeah, there's this Bikini Babe boxing match. And part of it's first person.
Dude.
And then there's matches where there's no crowd. It's in a very small room where you can't really see anything.
Yeah.
But there's fake crowd noise.
What the heck?
And they do these entrances, these green screen entrances, where it's obviously green screen and it looks like Tron.
Yeah, sure.
Where there's these wide, I don't know how to explain it, but there's these two panels of wide fake people or like just film
Yeah.
like stock
Yeah,
crowd
yeah.
footage. It's like I said, totally surreal.
Huh. Bizarre.
It feels like it's filmed like a sitcom almost. Elements of it. I don't know. Very strange, but anyways, yeah. So they went out of business. The Vern Gagne guy he kind of didn't know what he was doing with his money or how to develop like young up and comer
Right.
talent type people to kind of be the next generation of stars, all that. And they got poached by the WWF, of course, a lot.
So at this point, do you, if you're one of these wrestlers, do you own like your identity and like so Hulk was part of this? Was he Hulk Hogan, and was he able to transfer that freely?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. At this point, yes. Now, most of the time, no.
Like if you signed on now with the current guys, they're gonna have a character for you that they've already copyrighted and.
Yeah. So most likely, so like WWE, a lot of
WWE is the WWF, right?
yeah, same
Okay,
thing.
okay.
Yeah. They got sued by the World Wildlife Foundation.
That's right. That's good.
Perfect.
That's rich.
Yeah. So a lot of times someone will come in, sign a contract, and they'll have the character or something or a name, and they own the intellectual property to that.
Okay.
They're kind of easing up on that now. They're kind of being a little more, because the whole thing for a while, and it's still very much like this, but the WWF is its own universe where nothing exists outside of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they're easing up on that a little now. So they'll have people who will use the same name in there that they've used other places and stuff. But yeah.
That little kid was just shouting at the perfect guy. Mm-hmm. He looked furious.
Some little kid in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you'd be furious too, right? If you grew up in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I guess I just in general, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, do you wanna? Does it sound appealing to you at all to see Rod Stewart in Las Vegas?
I've seen him there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's where he was made for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially at this age
Yeah.
in his life.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't have wanted to see him there under the age of 50.
Right. That's got to be like, because you could see him totally feeling it, just soaking it all in, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's got to be one of the more successful runs.
Yeah.
Anything he's done there.
Yeah. I'd like to see him there. So have you been following? Have you been following what's going on here?
Yeah. Also, the announcers they've only really ever spoken of Bockwinkel? Mm-hmm. With like they just refer to him as the champion.
Yeah.
And he's the one that they're pulling for. It sounds like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, insofar as he's the champion and he's the better wrestler.
Okay.
Like it's well established that he's the better wrestler.
Okay.
Yeah. But have you noticed that there's been like kind of a sense of escalation to where we are now? Even from like when the second part started, have you felt any of that? Or does it feel pretty similar to the first bit of the match?
No, it feels like the crowd seems a little more torn between the two wrestlers.
Uh-huh.
And the Mr. Perfect guy is like coming out of a stupor.
Yeah.
because he was pretty beat up and he was out of the ring, and but now he seems to be like establishing a little bit more dominance or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So if your head's out of the ring, they start counting you down, or
No, so what he was doing then, because they were on the ropes,
oh, that's right.
you get a 5 count
got it
in the ropes, yeah. And so a lot of times what they'll do is that the timekeeper will only announce the time, like if there's going to be a draw.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which, like, it's good and bad, you know?
Yeah.
Because you want the crowd to be aware of the time.
Right.
And if they did it, every match, it would be... You would tune it out more, you know?
Sure.
But it also kind of tips you off.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, that was one of the only... I'm kind of confused.
What's that?
Oh, because I thought he pinned him for good, but
Yeah.
his leg was on the rope?
On the rope. So if you reach out and touch the rope, you can't.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, anyway, they haven't really, like, played around with the ropes that much.
Right.
They just recently did one of the things where the guy runs into the rope and bounces himself off to...
Yeah.
They haven't really done that at all.
Right.
It's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They've really stuck to these grapples and holds, and it just seems pretty technical.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah, like I said, this is how a lot of the style is, like the big match.
Mm-hmm.
A bit like the big title matches. A lot of them will be these more technical. It feels real old school, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And in my mind, it's distinctly American, and distinct. Like it's you can tell a difference between this and a southern thing, right?
Yeah.
And we haven't really watched much like a big southern title match or anything.
Right.
It's a different. I don't know. It's kind of intangible, I guess, but there's such a different vibe.
Definitely. I mean, like, so now there's kicking involved really for the first time. And they had only punched each other that one time in the last half, really.
Right. Yeah.
It feels like it's from another time in the sport or something. I don't know. I don't know, so I can't explain it, but it just...
Does it feel older or newer? Or?
To me, it feels older.
Okay.
This feels like what I would expect to see, like, more in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because they're just, like, exchanging... It's more athletic.
Yeah.
In that, like, and technical.
So when do you think, when you say beginning, what time frame is that for you?
I mean, I have no idea. Like 40s, I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly have. I didn't even know really that wrestling in this kind of way existed before the 70s.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like very, very. I mean, very early 1900s and before. I mean, like you've heard the rumors that, or the stories about Abraham Lincoln was a professional wrestler.
No.
Yeah, in the sense that like he would do these like kind of like tough man wrestling match type things, but yeah, it's like it was. I mean, it started on the carnival loops.
Sure,
like
early. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like in 1905 or whatever.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I know obviously like wrestling has been around forever.
Sure. Yeah.
As a thing.
Yeah.
But the history is pretty murky to me.
Yeah. So like they'd have like a strong man, and people from the crowd would challenge him.
Okay.
And then it kind of evolved from there, where like they realized they could make more money and make it more entertaining if they faked it.
Sure.
So, you know.
Yeah, this feels more like, I don't know. I don't know if like choreographed is the right word, but it's like it just feels technical.
Yeah, a cooperative or just technical.
No, I think like it's these guys are like working together. It's like
Yeah,
there's a lot of unity.
yeah,
And again, really little interest in the crowd, like them
yeah.
You know, like-
as performers.
as performers.
Mm-hmm.
The younger guy is more engaging, you know, to the crowd.
Mm-hmm. So if you heard, 45 minutes have gone by.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is a long match.
I don't know how they're still doing this because there's been exertion this entire time.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you is, have you felt any real downtime or
No, because you know they've only been out of the ring really once, and they kind of like reset themselves. It felt like,
Yeah.
and they just went again.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that you make a really good point in the like what a real hold is,
Yeah.
because there's been a lot of that stuff on the ground.
Yeah.
And so, I wonder if before we started watching all these matches, I would have even thought of that.
Yeah. Is that something you thought of? Like, was it something that I pointed out to you and you realized it, or is it something that you were kind of intuitively getting?
I feel like maybe a little of both.
Yeah.
I feel like I could tell that these guys are exerting the entire time,
Yeah.
but you pointing out the holds,
Yeah.
you know, they're not phoning them in, and you can tell.
Right. See, I love that pin right there because he's so far away from the ropes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. Usually you can tell, oh, he's going to get in the ropes, but he was really far away.
Yeah.
I did like that a lot.
And he also was like playing dead a little bit.
Yeah. And so Nick Bockwinkel, as he gets more and more tired, he looks more and more like Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah. He's aging before our eyes.
Yes. And so this is the first match we've watched where both competitors are dead.
So now they're starting to do these. I guess that was a suplex.
Yeah.
The pile driver, those kind of like drops.
The
or whatever.
bigger moves.
It's kind of interesting. They're like bringing those out now. It's like a theater thing. It's like this is a stage now.
Yeah.
Like this is coming into the last stage or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'll see a lot of comparisons to other like classical forms of storytelling. Mm-hmm. The idea of a basic structure of a match is babyface shine, which is me.
Yeah.
No, so a babyface shine. So it's the babyface. He comes in and he gets offense in and gets the crowd really going.
Okay.
Then the heel will get heat. And like I said, I've been like shying away from a lot of the terms and stuff.
Sure,
That's not really. You don't really care.
Yeah.
But
you're right.
It is kind of interesting. So it's the babyface shine, the heel heat. which is that's when there's conflict and the heel will take over and get
Right.
heat. That's the crowd heat, like the interaction and the heat. And then the comeback, the babyface will make a comeback, like Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
And then the finish,
Got it.
So, like, if you think about that, you can apply that to virtually any story.
Of course.
It's very simple, like classic storytelling.
Right. Yeah, and it's kind of funny. And it's impressive, actually. They're kind of 10 minutes left. So they're kind of telling this story through technique only.
Yes.
Because there was no like prelude that at least that I saw, where the guy comes in and then there was not really any of that, or again crowd interaction or even like big moves until now.
Right.
So they're kind of like using the moves themselves to like, I guess, keep the tempo of the story going, maybe.
In the sense of like escalation.
Yeah.
I mean that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, because they just now started bringing out those moves that I'm a little more familiar with or have seen before.
Yeah.
Like the beginning, they were seeming to feel out each other's weaknesses, and so it was a lot of small work. Like they were just both kind of on the ground.
Yeah.
And it's just gotten a little more brutish, like each time, as time has gone on.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you saw that Bockwinkel he kicked Hennig through the ropes and he hit his head on the ring post.
I did see that. Yeah. Dude, he looks messed up.
So we've got blood now, and you know what I just realized is that every match so far that we've watched has had blood in it.
Is that not standard?
I mean,
that's all I know now. So
yeah, I mean it is for the era, and depending on the promotion.
Like, do they bleed a lot now?
No. I mean, if like the deathmatch companies, of course, there's a lot of blood, but like WWE, no way, and it's pretty frowned upon. And it'll happen every once in a while, but no. In terms of, especially in terms of guys having razor blades.
And
going across the foreheads and but I mean as of now it's pretty standard now in terms of what we're watching in the mid 80s. Yeah, very standard. Do you have any thoughts on the blood, like adding anything, taking anything away? Just not in this match necessarily, but just as we've seen so far.
I find it pretty disturbing.
Really?
I think it works on the level exactly that they want it to work.
Yeah.
Because I don't care if it's manufactured. It's still it's really disturbing to see for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not like squeamish. It's just like I don't like the idea of what could happen here. And that's. I don't know. As these guys go on, it's just...
Yeah.
They're getting more tired. That's what made the previous episode's match really effective. Is like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
They're getting more tired, and there's more blood. So I'm afraid of like carelessness, really.
Yeah. So you know what's crazy is that there's been very little transmission of disease.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's instances of like Hep C
Sure.
being passed, not nearly as much as you would think. And what's really crazy is that, like AIDS, there's no like in this time period. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's downright astounding.
Yeah, with like as reckless as those guys were, like careless as they were in terms of like their personal lives.
Yeah. So now their crowd's really going because the young guy's getting him.
Yeah.
But he's like stumbling and staggering. It looks like he's giving everything he's got type thing. But yeah, his face is just red. It's red with blood.
Yeah. And that'll happen. It's like I think there's some kind of little vein or something in your head. Because this is where they do it across the
right, somewhere up on the scalp line or whatever.
Yeah, and it's every now and I don't know. It's obviously a depth thing as well, but there's also like it's called hitting a gusher.
I don't like that at all. That's not cool. Yeah, and just thinking of how disease-ridden all these guys probably are.
Yeah, or even just like the sweat and dirt
and the exactly,
and like
the atmosphere,
and so you wear boots you put your boots on in the locker room, then maybe you go to the restroom in the locker room, and then you come out to the mat, and then you wrestle, and there's blood, and you're rolling around, and then you go back, then someone else, you know what I mean?
I don't like that. Please, I don't want to think about that.
But it's crazy that not more, has happened.
They truly live a charmed life then, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so the fans have turned up a bit. It's now coming to the end, time-wise at least. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of blood now on both. A tooth flew out of one of the wrestlers. Okay. Now they're just going on each other, and the crowd's like freaking out.
They're both bleeding now.
Yeah, they're both covered in blood.
As Curt Hennig breaks the laces of the boots across the forehead. Front face lock. Picking him up for a suplex. How he is able to do it. Oh! The deadly Bockwinkel. Turnover. Come on. Over. And Curt Hennig. Get over there. He got it. He is on top. A count of two. A count of
Near fall.
Yeah, they're giving it all. I'm downright impressed that that guy's 51 years old at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so just imagine him at 30 years old.
Yeah, totally. Okay, yeah, I get you there. So now we're whiling away the minutes here.
Yes. So do you feel any sense of desperation in relation to the time at all? Like, do you feel like things are ramping up as we're getting closer to the 16th?
Yeah, it feels like it to me. Yeah, they're drained, but they're really going now.
Yeah. Do you see the blood on the camera?
Yeah. That is really disturbing. I mean, that guy looks insane. They both do.
Yeah.
With less than 60 seconds remaining, these two men have given
Old Rod Trongard is the announcer.
And wasn't another guy was like Sir Lord Baltimore? What was
Sir James or Lord James Blears?
Lord James Blears? Okay.
Terrible. They're both. I don't like them.
Yeah. Okay, we're down to the final seconds. Crowd's all on their feet, going.
Here at the Showboat Sports Pavilion, coast to coast, continent to continent, the pump's going down the one. It is all over. It is all over.
And that's it.
Curt Hennig and Nick Bockwinkel have gone, and Lord James Blair
Did he submit to that figure 4 or whatever it was?
No, he didn't. But because the referee raises both people's hands in the case of a draw.
Yeah.
But he raises. See, they did a little misdirection there.
Huh.
So he raised his hands first, and then the champion's hand.
Okay, I see. So it is a draw then.
It is a draw. Yeah, so it's a 60-minute draw.
Yeah, they look pretty spent.
Yeah. And so as this is winding down, since we're at we had a long match here, let's just get to our questions.
Hello, everyone. Just a quick interruption from our show to let you all know about all the great things going on over at Place to Be Nation. We had a busy week on the PTBN Pop feed with a little bit of something for everyone. And the newest hard-traveling fanboys, Greg and Nick, deliver a spoiler-filled review of Captain Marvel. So if you're a real spoiler hound, you've been warned. Also, Andy Atherton is joined by Scott Criscolo and Mirandia Berthold to give their takes on Captain Marvel as well. Jason Sherman is joined by Neil Trama and Andy Atherton for the premiere episode of PTBN E-Ticket. The trio dive right into an intense look at Disney's Magic Kingdom. And be sure to stop by the Geek and Sassy Facebook page, where you can grab a ballot for the second annual Sassy Awards. Make your voice heard over on the PTBN Wrestling feed. We continue our dip inside the vault with classic Where the Big Boys Play episodes. This time, Parv and Chad finished their look at the Great American Bash 1987, featuring what I believe is the greatest Jimmy Garvin match of all time. JT and Chad returned with a new Wrestling Warzone podcast as they break down the Raw and Nitro from 12/15/1995. And you guessed it, there's more Santa Claus to be found. On this week's main event, Scott Criscolo, Steve Willie, and Nate Milton broke down Fastlane and started to lay out their thoughts on WrestleMania. They also delivered the newest classic TNA pay-per-view recap. I will not read the ad for the newest You Don't Know Billy Jack episode because, well, you're listening to it right now. Be sure to check out placetobenation.com as things are getting back up and running there. As March rolls in, content will be picking back up in the days, the weeks, the months, the years, the decades, and the centuries to come. Finally, be sure to give a like to the PTBN Greatest Candy Tournament Facebook page so you can participate in daily polls as we determine which candy is indeed the greatest candy of all time. The polls are also available via Twitter, so keep an eye out for that. Things kicked off March 10th with a champion to be crowned on Easter Sunday. Sunday. Thank you very much, everyone, and now back to the show.
General thoughts on the match, Jordan?
That was a very well done match. And I'm not sure if I can tell you why I think that, other than when they started, it was kind of interesting. They lost me for that middle period.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, I could kind of understand that they were really storytelling through the technique and through the moves they were doing. Mm-hmm. And so then it started to get a little more lively because there was a climax was coming. So that was pretty cool because you could we could watch the first 3 minutes and then watch like the last 3 minutes, and they'd be wildly different.
Right.
And it would make perfect sense.
Right. Uh-oh.
Oh.
Hello. Anyways, after a brief interruption,
Do you want to get your...
my questions? No, let's see. The story conveyed. You kind of explained that already through technique, right?
Yeah, and so, I mean, I don't know that if we would have stopped it, if it was done, it became more interesting as I was more aware of that. So the match kind of endeared itself to me when I got to see the fullness of it. But there was a period where I was like, dude, I don't know, man, I don't know if I can watch this whole thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because it was really technical.
You're right.
You know, for me at least.
Yeah. So, can you see why this match would be considered one of the greatest matches of all time?
I think I could now. Like, if that was the first match we watched, I'm not sure. Because...
So it's something that takes a little bit of, like, knowledge to...
I would think so. But, I mean... again, the fact that they were able to kind of sway me mid-match was... I mean, that probably speaks to something. Because they were able to, like... it's impressive for anyone to go that long doing that.
Yeah.
But to do it in such a way that it didn't seem... like contrived, and yet it did seem like they were on the same page that entire time.
Yeah.
And there were chapters to it, like, you know, as it went on.
Yeah.
With that, it didn't involve gimmick or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
there was no side person or props or something else coming into the mix. It was just like they were just going at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the last question would be, where do you rank this in relation to the other matches we've watched?
I'm going to go ahead and put this number 2.
Okay, so as of right now, I'm going to need to start, I think at this point I'll probably need to start writing them down.
Yeah.
So it's Magnum Tully, Hennig versus Bockwinkel, New Japan Gauntlet, MS1 versus Sangre Chicana.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I would put this third behind... Yeah, I would put it behind. So it's Magnum Tully for me, then Sangre Chicana MS1, Hennig Bockwinkel, and New Japan Gauntlet. So there you go.
Yeah, I now I'm wondering what I would have thought of that first match.
If you were to see it
yeah,
now.
I don't know.
And that's part of the experience, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you were to watch it now, you might see it differently, and you might like it more.
Yeah. No, that's I'm kind of
Yeah.
That makes you think about it a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all. There's obviously a lot going on in my house all of a sudden, so we'll end this. Jordan, do you want to give out your mother's maiden name for everyone, for the folks at home?
No, that's okay.
Okay. Any other plugs?
Sweet tart ropes. That's my plug. You everyone should eat those.
Very good. As for me, follow me on Twitter if you like, or get in touch via Twitter @_Burning Spirits. And I've plugged the Takeda zine several times, so I think I'll ease up on that. All right, that's all. Thank you very much, Jordan.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Bye.